So let us look at this year's GS paper 4 ethics. So what are our basic impressions about this paper? As usual, EPS is focusing more on application oriented aspects of administration, whether it is in section A or in case studies. Definitely you need in-depth knowledge of administration, practical aspects of administration to answer the questions either in section A or in case studies. And of course, one more thing is UPSC is always focusing on current events, even in ethics paper also. And that is the reason why you must have in-depth knowledge of the current events also, while application of those current events from ethical perspective is what that is needed. So let us look at the questions from the first question onwards. The application of AI as a dependable source of input for administrative rational decision making is a debatable issue. Critically examine the statement from the ethical point of view. I remember I have given the same question in our ethics test series also, application of AI. So what is the issue here? Again, please remember, like as we have discussed yesterday with GS paper 2 also, the questions look very simple on the face of it. But what is the reason why average score in ethics paper again is only around 80 to 90 marks? Why? Because people lack conceptual clarity, and that is where you must be really concerned about the ethics paper, because there is not much of syllabus as far as ethics paper is concerned. The syllabus is very less. Why still people they still don't get marks is because they lack conceptual clarity. For example, look at the question here. The question says that application of artificial intelligence as a dependable source of input for administrative rational decision making is a debatable issue. So what have you understood by the question here? When we are talking about artificial intelligence, using artificial intelligence, when we are talking about using artificial intelligence for decision making in administration, it can be problematic. As we study in public administration, what is this rational decision making? That is the key word here, rational decision making. That's what I keep on saying. Whether students like it or not, they need a knowledge of public administration to answer the questions in ethics paper. What is a rational decision making? A rational decision making is the one wherein the decisions are based on facts. This is where the entire question can be seen. The essence of this entire question can be seen. A rational decision making is the one wherein the decisions are based on facts. As we study with Herbert Simon, one of the most important administrative thinkers in public administration, he said that what is needed is in a completely rational decision making that would make organizations efficient, whether it is a public organization or a private administration. Now, as we again study here, what is the problem here? The problem here is that this rational decision making excludes values. It excludes values. This rational decision making excludes values. And this is where the question here. The question says that when we are using AI, when we are using artificial intelligence to take so-called rational decisions in administration, it can be debatable, it can be problematic. Why? What is the reason why it can be problematic? That is what the crux of your answer. Why it can be problematic? Because technology is value neutral. This is what the essence of your answer. Technology is completely value neutral. Technology is completely value neutral. Whether it is artificial intelligence or algorithms or anything else. Technology is completely value neutral. Whereas in administration, what is required is values. In administration, what is required is values. Can administration be completely devoid of values? Should administration be completely devoid of values? Can artificial intelligence take into consideration these values? Can artificial intelligence take into consideration these values? That is where it is debatable and it is problematic. Can artificial intelligence take into consideration values? Can artificial intelligence differentiate between a rich person and a poor person, a forward caste and a backward caste, gender, religion, tribals? That is where the problem is. And that is where the problem is. The problem with artificial intelligence is that it simply cannot have any values. And automatically using artificial intelligence in a decision making can make the entire decision making process completely irrelevant from administrative perspective. Whereas from administrative perspective, what is the most important thing that everyone should be taking into consideration? The administrators, everyone, the administration should be taking into consideration values. That is where you have to give examples. For example, you have to identify the people for receiving the benefits of the government. Can artificial intelligence identify the sufferings of the people? That is what you have to write here. Artificial intelligence can never identify the sufferings of the people. Can they identify the sufferings of the people? For example, women at workplace, another question they have asked. Can they identify the discrimination faced by the women at workplace? Artificial intelligence. Can artificial intelligence identify untouchability faced by backward caste in the society? All these things you have to write as part of your answer. These are all the ethical concerns. Please remember, this is the only reason why people don't get marks in ethics paper. Because they don't have knowledge of public administration. It is as simple as that one. They don't have knowledge of. That is the reason why average score in ethics paper is always 80 to 90 marks. So this is where, can artificial intelligence identify the hunger of a poor person? Artificial intelligence says that give the benefits of a Food Security Act only to those people whose fingerprints will be matching. His fingerprints are not matched. His fingerprints are not matched. And he is extremely poor person, he is suffering from hunger. Will he be getting the food grains? Why? Because artificial intelligence cannot identify hunger. It cannot identify hunger. It cannot identify discrimination. It cannot identify untouchability. It cannot identify poverty. How can you identify poverty? Through artificial intelligence. It cannot identify honesty. Can it identify honesty? Because they are all the values. Can it identify selflessness on the part of the individuals? Can it identify empathy? Can it identify honesty? That is where the problem with artificial intelligence. Why? Because ultimately, as we study facts which are easily recognized by the artificial intelligence, facts which are easily recognized by the artificial intelligence can never make administrative decisions completely rational. What is needed is values. It has been proved also in America. You have to give the examples. In America, these robots, they could not differentiate, between a white and a black, racial differences. They could not empathize with the sufferings of the black people. They could not empathize with the suffering of the black people. This is only in America, wherein the only kind of diversity is racial diversity. Come to India with so much of diversity. You are a minority, linguistic minority in a state. Can artificial intelligence identify the problems faced by you as a linguistic minority? Right now you can see in Karnataka, Bangalore, there is so much of problem with this Kannada language and people who are from outside Karnataka working there. Can artificial intelligence identify these things? That is what you have to write for your answer, giving as many examples as possible. And in administration, what is required? In administration, what is required is only values. Value-free decision making, as we keep on saying, is neither desirable, nor feasible, nor possible. That is what you have to end your answer. Right? So this is what the answer to the question. Again, understanding the question is very important. Yes? Yeah. Same thing, you know. That is what I am saying. You know, artificial intelligence is part of science and technology. UPSC some time back has asked a general essay also regarding science and technology. What is the problem with science and technology? Science and technology is always value neutral. You know, I'll just give you one simple example here. Take the case of nuclear energy. Technology will tell you that it can be used for constructive purposes to produce electricity. It also says that it can be used for destructive purposes, produce nuclear bombs. Will the technology tell you what is good? And who has to decide? Human beings. Can artificial intelligence do those things? That is what we are saying here. That is the reason why technology can be extremely dangerous weapon. That is what I am saying. The difference here is exactly same thing. You know, whether it is artificial intelligence or science and technology, you are writing the same points. You know, as I keep on saying, can the robot identify, you know, a forward caste person from backward caste person? Can the robot identify the discrimination suffered by a backward caste person in the society? That is what we say. Next, ethics encompasses several key dimensions that are crucial in guiding individuals and organizations towards morally responsible behavior. Explain the key dimensions of ethics that influence human actions. Discuss how these dimensions shape ethical decision making in the professional context. The question itself is 150 words. Repeat the question and the answer is over. Nowadays, what UPSC is doing is that in section A also, the questions themselves are more than 150 words. You say that yes, I agree, and they repeat the question. The answer is over, right? You know, let us try to understand what are the sufferings of UPSC here. Ethics encompasses several key dimensions that are crucial in guiding individuals and organizations towards morally responsible behavior. What it says, again, as we keep on saying, whenever any decision is taken by the individuals, whether it is individuals or organizations, those decisions should always be based on moral and ethics, morals and values. And this ethics will provide guidelines to the individuals as well as organizations to take decisions on the basis of what is called morality. You know, as we keep on saying, decisions can always be based on either facts or values. Previous question only. And what does ethics do? Ethics will help you to take those decisions which are based on values and morals. That is what the statement says. Explain the key dimensions of ethics that influence human actions. I said, you know, what are the important dimensions of ethics that can influence human actions in a what we call morally relevant behavior, morally perspective, right kind of behavior. What are the key dimensions of ethics that should decide our moral actions and behavior. And second part, how these dimensions shape ethical decision making in the professional context. That means first part of the question talks about individuals, second part of the question talks about professionals, basically administrators. So whenever we are taking any decisions, what are those ethical components that will help you to take what is called morally right decisions? What are those ethical components that help you to take morally right decisions? What are they? Yes. What are those ethical components that helps you to take morally right decisions? Yes, what are they? First and foremost, we should always be selfless. Whenever we take any decisions, it is always the self-interest that dominates. It is always the self-interest. This is what one of the important moral philosophers, Adam Smith, would always say. He says that every person can take decisions on the basis of their self-interest. And what is the problem here? When you are taking decisions on the basis of your self-interest, what is the problem? What is the problem here? The problem here is that this self-interest can easily transform itself into selfish interest. And in the name of selfish interest, what will you do? You will take decisions that would exploit others, that will manipulate others, that would cheat others. For example, if you are a capitalist, your job is to maximize profits. So what do? You create artificial scarcity in the market. Then prices will go up. You will sell them at higher prices. That is what is your self-interest. If you are a capitalist, you will try to monopolize the markets. With monopoly, you can fix the prices the way you like. You are not at all concerned about quality or people's problems. You are a politician. Your job is only to win elections. And what will you do? You will divide the society in the name of religion, caste, to win elections. That is the reason why first and foremost is selflessness. Right? Then what are the other things that you should take into consideration? Second one is empathy. That means as an individual, as an organization also, whenever you are taking decisions, you should always be able to feel the sufferings of other people. That is when you will be taking morally right decisions. Empathy. As we study, if civil servants have empathy, nothing else matters. If they don't have empathy, again nothing else matters. These are the statements you have to write in your answers. That is the difference between 80 marks and 140 marks. As I keep on saying, the syllabus of ethics is very less. Geography you will be studying for 5,000 years. Ethics you will be studying for 50 days. After studying 5,000 years also, you will not know anything about geography. Right? But why people don't get marks in ethics? Because they study ethics but they will never understand ethics. That is where it becomes problematic. Second one is empathy. This is another thing that can ensure that your decisions are always morally right. And what are the other things that you must take into consideration? Integrity. So what does this integrity means? Basically, if there is any conflict between your self-interest and the interests of an organization or the institution or the society, integrity says that you should always sacrifice self-interest for the sake of the family, organization, society, country. That is the third thing that you will take into consideration. right? This is another thing that you will take into consideration, whenever you take any decisions. Next, what are the, because it's only a 10 marker, you cannot be writing general essays for 10 markers. And you can give one more value, one more aspect of ethics. What is the next one that you can give? Pardon? Huh? Humility. Okay, it's a very humid here. Okay, thought that it is humidity. Okay, better thing? Anything else? Yes, accountability. You must always be willing to take responsibility for your actions. If you look at our politicians, if something is good, you can see all the politicians reaching that place. When India wins one medal in Olympics, right from the Prime Minister to the class 4 employee, everyone will be there to award them, reward them, recognize them. On the other hand, if something bad happens, you can see politicians are completely absent. Even if you go for Google search also, it will only come with a very simple suggestion, 404 error, not found. Right? This is where the problem is, accountability. Everyone must be willing to take responsibility for their actions. Accountability. Very important. So these four are the values that you must take into consideration that would result in what is called responsible behavior. And they are very important from your administration point of view also. Why? Why? Because the basic problem with our civil servants is that they are highly selfish. They are always motivated by one objective or aim. Whether that a particular decision that they are taking, will that help them to get their promotions, better postings, post-retirement positions. That is where our civil servants have completely failed the country. Selfish interest. That is the reason why we say selflessness. Empathy. Again, as we have mentioned, if civil servants have empathy, nothing else matters. If they don't have empathy, the problem with our civil servants is that they have so much of knowledge, intelligence, but they don't have empathy. For example, you are a district collector. Children in your district are dying because of malnourishment. You don't even want to recognize that they are dying because of malnourishment, because you don't have any empathy. You don't know what is malnourishment. You come from an elite background. You don't know what is hunger. You don't know what is malnourishment. You don't know what is poverty. That is the reason why you will never be successful. Right? Then integrity. As I said, this integrity comes from selflessness. If you don't have integrity, you will always be selfish. And all your decisions will always be looking at only one thing, that is your career advancement. That is the reason why our civil servants have lost one of the most important values, neutrality, political neutrality. And then accountability. This is the last thing that we can expect. Our administrative structures are such that civil servants are never made accountable. And that is the reason why they can get away with everything and anything also. That is what you have to write for this question. Next, it is not enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it is not enough to believe in it. One must act upon it. In the present context, the major weapon industries of the developed nations are adversely influencing continuation of the number of wars for their own self-interest all around the world. What are the ethical considerations of the powerful nations in today's international arena to stop continuation of ongoing conflicts? You like these kind of cute questions, innocent questions. That is where you have unconditional love for UPSC, right? For asking such a cute and innocent questions, right? So, let us try to understand what is this. It is not enough to talk about peace, one must believe in it, and it is not enough to believe in it, we must also act upon it. Basically, the question talks about the duplicity, hypocrisy on the part of developed nations. Hypocrisy on the part of the developed nations. What kind of hypocrisy that we are talking about here? These developed nations always talk about global peace, harmony, cooperation, development. In reality, they always act against it. Why? Because most of the developed nations are capitalist countries. And what is the only value that is cherished in capitalism? Profits. And what is the industry in the world which has maximum amount of profits? Arms industry. Weapons, arms. Its profits are 1000%. 1000%. 1000% profits. The next one is investment banking. Profits are around 750%. Third one is software sector. Profits are 500%. So that is the reason why all these developed countries only talk about global peace. They never act upon it. Why? Because as we study, doctor's health always depends on the health of the patients. If patients are healthy, doctor will get into depression. Right? If patients are healthy, doctors will get into depression. If society is honest, lawyers would become beggars. Right? That is the reason why, doctor will always say that please take care of your health. And he always pray that he will never take care of your health. The same kind of, hypocrisy we can find. The same kind of hypocrisy we can find among developed nations. Because all these nations earn huge amounts of money. All these nations earn huge amounts of money only by selling arms. Give the example here. Take the case of United States of America. It will be selling arms to India as well as Pakistan, so that they can fight among themselves. It will be selling arms to Israel as well as Arab powers, Arab countries. It will be selling arms to Ukraine. Russia does not require American arms. Right? Duplicity, hypocrisy. If US is serious, it could have made serious efforts to stop Russia-Ukraine war. It does not want. Why? Who will buy their arms? Who will buy their arms? And if US is serious, or rest of the communities are serious, they could have solved all the border issues. For example, North Korea versus South Korea. Right? They will be selling arms to South Korea directly, indirectly to North Korea. That is what it is. That is what China will be doing. Right? That is where the problem is. And that is what the question it is. What are the ethical considerations of the powerful nations in today's international arena to stop continuation of ongoing conflicts? What are the ethical considerations? The thing we say here is that every country in the world is always guided by self-interest. This is what it is. They are always guided by self-interest. Every country is always guided by only one thing, that is self-interest. If there is a conflict between self-interest and global peace, that is what you have to say. If there is a conflict between self-interest versus global peace, what do? They always give importance to self-interest. Give an example here. This CTBT, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, it was never implemented by any of the members. Most of these countries are not willing to stop conducting the nuclear test. And NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. But still, nuclear weapons are being proliferated. There are so many countries which in the world which are de facto and de jure nuclear weapon states. Israel has it. Iran is developing it. Pakistan has it. North Korea also have nuclear weapons. How did they get those nuclear weapons if they have implemented NPT? How did they get those nuclear weapons? Automatically, this is because of self-interest versus global peace. So what is the solution here? The solution is given by Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant, one of the important philosophers. For the next question also, you will be quoting Immanuel Kant only. For the next question also. What is, for the next question, you will be quoting Gandhi and Immanuel Kant. That's a different thing. What is Immanuel Kant has to say about international relations, ethics in international relations? He said that yes, every country is guided by self-interest. That can only destroy the world, ultimately. What did he come out with? He had come out with a concept called cosmopolitanism. He had come out with a concept called cosmopolitanism. What is cosmopolitanism? What is cosmopolitanism? What is the meaning of the word cosmopolitanism? Yes, what is it? Cosmos means universe. It means universe. Cosmos means universe. Cosmopolitanism is an idea that believes that this earth belongs to everyone. It belongs to everyone. This earth belongs to everyone. It belongs to everyone. So there should not be any artificial boundaries. There should not be any artificial boundaries, for people to move from one country to other country. There should not be any artificial boundaries for people to move from one country to other country. All of us are citizens of the earth because nature does not differentiate people in the name of their nationality. Nature does not differentiate the people in the name of their nationality. If we can move towards this concept of cosmopolitanism, then automatically the wars would become a thing of the past. And this concept of nationalism had transformed itself into xenophobia. Xenophobia. That means my country is the greatest. And it had resulted in what is called aggressive nationalism that led to imperialism later. That is the reason why we should go back to the ancient times, wherein you can have the countries, but you can ensure that the countries remain only for the purpose of legal. Otherwise, there should be free movement, free trade, and free flexibility, everything else. So that if you can take out the amount of money spent by the countries on their defense, that money can easily remove the poverty of the entire world very quickly. Best example, after Second World War, Japan was completely demilitarized. It was not allowed to maintain its army, and that is the reason why Japan could spend all its monies only on developmental purposes, and it had become a developed country within 30 years. On the other hand, countries like India and Pakistan, they are spending huge amounts of money only on weapons. They remain poor and backward. Pakistan has collapsed. Still, it is not willing to reduce its defense spending. And the Western powers are not willing to make sure that the tensions are never eliminated. That is what we say here. So this is what we say for this question. Next, global warming and climate change are the outcomes of human greed in the name of development, indicating the direction in which extinction of organisms, including the human beings, is heading towards the life on earth. How do you put an end to this to protect the life and bring equilibrium between the society and environment. Again, one more cute, innocent question. That's what I said. Everyone will definitely fall unconditionally in love with UPSC, if not with Shah Rukh Khan. Right? For such cute and innocent questions. Right? So, it says that global warming and climate change are the outcomes of human greed. That everyone knows. Right? How do you put an end to protect this life and bring equilibrium? What will you do? You will become Kalki, the 10th incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and start killing all those people who are what? Deliberately destroying the ecological systems. That is one solution, ideal solution, but you cannot write that. What you have to write? What you have to write in the examination? What you have to write? So, for all these kind of questions, we have one philosopher, who is always there, who has come out with quotations for everything under the sun, including the sun and above the sun also. Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi is there. You start your answer with Mahatma Gandhi. What did he say? Our earth has enough resources to satisfy the needs of the people, but not their greed. Our earth has enough resources to satisfy the need of the people, but not their greed. It has enough resources to satisfy the needs of the people, but not their greed. Right? Enough resources to satisfy the needs, but not the greed. And what is the problem here? The problem here is that after industrial revolution, almost all the countries in the world have only opted for capitalism. After industrial revolution, countries have only opted for capitalism. They have only opted for capitalism. And capitalism, the only value capitalism cherishes is profits. And this profit has no limit. It has no limit. Profit has no limit. The greed, it has no limit. Why profit has no limit? Why profit has no limit? As we study again in economy, there is only one commodity for which there is no saturation point, and that commodity is money. For which there is no saturation point. There is only one commodity. Please, we have to write answers from ethical perspective. Everyone can write answer to this question, but how to write answers from ethical perspective? If you are writing answer from geographical perspective or environmental perspective, you will not get marks. You have to write answers from ethical perspective. And the problem here is that there is only one commodity for which there is no saturation, that is money. So that is the reason why there is no limit for the profits of the capitalists. And another thing here is that in this capitalism, capitalists are not at all concerned about negative externalities of their actions. They are not at all concerned about negative externalities of their actions. Negative externalities of their actions. What do we mean by they are not at all concerned about negative externalities of their actions? What do we mean by that? Whenever they take any decisions, that decision is only based on one thing, that is whether it maximizes their profits or not. Their decisions, please remember, again in capitalism, a rational decision for an organization is that one that will maximize their profits. A rational decision for a capitalist is the one that maximizes their profits. So, any kind of negative consequences of their actions, they are not at all concerned. For example, a thermal power producer is there. I am not naming anyone here. Right? A thermal power producer is there. What does he do? Coal is used. It will be polluting the environment. And what will he do? If he uses low quality coal, he can maximize his profits. Low quality coal means ash content is very high. He will use that only. Is he concerned about environmental degradation? Never. Similarly, a petrochemical factory owner is there. A petrochemical factory owner is there. Whatever the chemical waste that is coming out of his factory, what will he do? He will throw that chemical waste into the local river. Let the people drink it and die. He is not concerned. And this is what capitalism is all about. And that is the reason why, global warming and climate change are inevitable consequences of this ruthless capitalism. Ruthless capitalism. Global warming and climate change. And they are not at all concerned. Why? Because with global warming and climate change, what happens? Why they are not concerned? Capitalists? With global warming and climate change, what happens? Automatically the prices of their products will go up because of scarcity. And they will be making more profits. They will be making more profits. Because they are only concerned about profits. Right? This is what, then what should we do then? What should we do? What is the solution? What do you think is the solution then? Pardon? I did not get you. What is it? Okay, fine. I am not talking about theoretical things. What can the government should do? What can the government should do? CSR, nobody is concerned. No. Give from ethical perspective. Ethical perspective. Very simple. Even though the solution we are suggesting might look ridiculous, this is what Mahatma Gandhi has suggested long time back. That is the reason why the question was asked by UPSC about Mahatma Gandhi also. Gandhian way of life. What is this Gandhian way of life? Living close to the nature. In avoiding all the kinds of artificial comforts and luxuries. Avoiding all kinds of artificial comforts and luxuries. Living close to the nature. It is all about controlling our desire. Ethical solution. Controlling our desire. Controlling our desire. If human beings can control their desires to have an extremely luxurious lifestyle, that is what again Mahatma Gandhi has said. Whenever you are in doubt about taking any decision, remember the face of the poorest person you have come across and see whether that decision will help that person or not. When we take decisions on the basis of this popular dictum given by Mahatma Gandhi, automatically all the problems will be solved. This is the only solution. This is the only solution. Right? People ridiculed Mahatma Gandhi when he had come out with these kind of solutions in 1920s and 30s, because that was the heydays of capitalism and industrial revolution and big industries. Mahatma Gandhi had warned at that point of time, this heartless, exploitative capitalism can pose extreme danger to the humanity in the long term. And that is what we are witnessing now. All these kind of natural disasters are not natural, they are unnatural disasters, because nature is not causing those disasters. It is the human beings who are responsible for those disasters. Cloud burst. Can you imagine a rain fall of 50 centimeters in 24 hours? It never happened. Last year in India itself, out of 365 days, more than 320 days have witnessed what is called climate emergencies. That means either extreme hot temperatures or extreme rainfall or extremely cold. That is where you have to write a solution. Please remember, always give ethical solutions. Next, given below are three quotations of great thinkers. What do each of these quotations convey to you in the present context? That is what the first one says. Learn everything that is good from others, but bring it in and in your own way to absorb it. Do not become others. Swami Vivekananda. The same thing was also, as I said, given by our favorite thinker Mahatma Gandhi. He said that I want the doors of my window to be kept opened so that the fresh air can come in, but at the same time I want to make sure that I am not swept off or blown off by the winds. This is what we quote in the age of globalization also. We should always be open to new cultures, new traditions and new customs, but at the same time we should make sure that we are not blindly imitating them and in the process losing our own originality. So that is what the essence of this statement. So how do you answer this? As I said, directly link it to globalization. The basic problem with the developing countries is they are trying to imitate the traditions, customs, cultures, values of developed countries in the name of becoming part of developed societies. And in the process they are losing their own originality. Give the examples. Take the case of India. In the last 30 years, we have seen most of these Western cultures dominating our value systems. That is the reason why we have seen huge amount of increase in divorce rates. Because marriage as an institution is fast losing its sanctity because of influence of Western countries. Similarly, we are also moving to the materialistic societies wherein we believe that happiness lies only in materialistic comforts. Again, that is trying to learn, and in the process we are losing our own soul also. Then we are also becoming more conservative societies, not willing to accept different traditions and customs. More conservative societies. Next, in the same manner, at the same time we are not willing to learn good things. For example, in Western societies, the best part of it is their work culture, which is based on discipline, hard work, honesty. We are not willing to learn those kind of things. And it is whenever we come across any new culture or society, the tendency of the people is to learn first all the negative things because they are more attractive. That is human behavior also, nature also. And that is the reason why this statement is made. That is why this statement is made. We should always learn good from others. From Western countries we can learn about hard work, we can learn about discipline, we can learn about professionalism, we can learn about honesty. Those societies are fairly honest. Please remember, those societies are fairly honest. That is the reason why they have become developed also. These are the good things that we can learn. And we should not be tempted by other negative features of those societies. And by learning the good things from those societies and other cultures, we should make ourselves better human beings. This is what Aristotle always says. You can quote Aristotle here. Aristotle always says that a real happiness lies in perfection. Real happiness lies in perfection. When, as a human being, if we become perfect, we will always be happy. And when do you become perfect? When you possess moral as well as intellectual virtues. And we can learn these moral and intellectual virtues from other traditions, other customs, other societies, so that we can become perfect human beings. That is what you have to write for this question. Next, faith is of no avail in the absence of strength. Faith and strength both are essential to accomplish any great work. Sardar Patel. So, what does this question says? What does this statement says? You might have belief in something. You might have faith in something. But how do you show your faith? How do you show your faith? Only through your actions. How do you show your faith? Only through your actions. And those actions require moral strength. Those actions require moral strength. And faith without strength, is useless. Let us try to understand this again from, what you call ethical perspective. Let us try to understand. For example, you believe in good values like honesty or integrity or selflessness or empathy. So, how do I know you have those values? Whenever you come across a situation, you must have the necessary strength to display those values when you are facing adversity. This is what I always say. It is always very easy to swim with the tide. The most difficult thing in this, swimming against the tide. That is when the real personality of a person can be seen. I'll just give you one example. This happened sometime back in America. Again, ethics paper is all about giving examples only. In America, in one of the cities, one of the localities, a woman was molested in public view in front of hundreds of people. Not even a single person had come to rescue her. All of them were totally against this kind of actions, but none of them have the strength to oppose it. It has created so much of furor in America. Why people have become so cowards? Just because other person has some kind of weapon in their hand, everyone will be thinking about only themselves. That is where the problem is. Right? And 1990s, there was a photographer, American photographer. He was in Africa. He had taken a picture that had shaken the conscience of the entire world. What was that picture? A young boy, 4 or 5 years old. He was just looking like a skeleton only. He must not have eaten food for any long period of time. He was walking, and behind him you have, pardon? Come again? What? Vultures. Yes, a vulture was walking. Why? Vultures do not eat live animals. It was waiting for this boy to die. He can die at any point of time. And what did the photographer do? He had taken this photograph for his magazine. He never really bothered to provide food to this boy. That is where the problem with our humanity. You can see nowadays, recently also in Indore, in Madhya Pradesh, a woman was molested in public view. People were taking, videos. Right? That is where we need values. We need values. And then you can quote here Mahabharata. After this Mahabharata war was over, Gandhari, mother of all the Kauravas, she had 100 children. All those children died in front of her. For any mother, the worst thing is seeing the death of her children. She was in a deep pain. That is when Lord Krishna comes in front of her. And she blames Lord Krishna, saying that you are God. If you had wanted, you could have easily stopped this war. You did not do it. You could have saved me the pain of looking at the death of my 100 children. He said that yes, I could have easily stopped the war. I did not stop it because I wanted to teach a lesson to the future generations. What is that? If a crime is committed in front of you, if you remain silent, it means that you are also an accomplice in the crime and you will be punished. And that is what he said. When Draupadi was molested in the full court of Duryodhan, none of your children and none of other dignitaries who were present opposed this molestation of Draupadi, including Bhishma Pitama, Veda Vyas, and Krupacharya, not Vyas, Krupacharya and Dronacharya. None of them have opposed. And that is the reason why I killed all of them. Faith without strength is useless. Right? And there were only very few people who have opposed it, and they were the ones who were alive. Ashwadhama had opposed it. And he said that I cannot see these things happening in front of me, and he left the place. Pandavas opposed it. That is the reason why they were alive. Rest of them were killed. That is what you have to write for this question. The questions look very simple, but writing is the most difficult thing. Next, let us move on to the next question. In law, a man is guilty when he violates the rights of others. In ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing so. Immanuel Kant. I said Immanuel Kant is one of the favorite philosophers of UPSC. What he is saying here, a man is guilty when he violates the rights of others according to law. In case of ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing so. What does it mean? Our actions are directly related to our thought process. Our actions are directly related to our thought process. That is the reason why, we say that an unethical person is the one whose thought process is always guided by selfish interest. Please remember, we are not talking about the actions here, because actions are the outcomes of your thoughts. And that is the reason why, how do we define honesty? How do we define honesty? How do we define honesty? Yes, how do we define honesty? I am asking a question. How do we define honesty? It means complete synchronization, synergy between what you think, what you say, and what you do. That is what Mahatma Gandhi is all about. That is how you define an ethical person. What you think is exactly same as what you say. What you say is exactly same as what you do. And this is where you can see our politicians. They might be doing something legal. They might be doing something legal, but it can be completely unethical. Why? For example, when our politicians say that the objective of giving reservations is to empower weaker sections, in reality, what is their thought process? Divide the society in the name of a caste, create vote banks and win elections. Their actions are legal, but their thought process is completely unethical. Can we call them good people? That is what Immanuel Kant says. Most of the time our actions can be legal, but they can be completely immoral and unethical. That is the reason why first purify your mind. First purify your mind. Automatically you will become a good person. That is what it says. Purification of our thought process is what is required. Next, the concept of just and unjust is contextual. What was just a year back may turn out to be unjust in today's context. Changing context should be constantly under scrutiny to prevent miscarriage of justice. Examine the above statement with suitable examples. So what is the question saying here? What is good and what is bad? They are only relative in nature. They are relative in nature. Why? Because with the passage of time, they keep on changing. That is what we study in ethics. There are certain values which we call them as universal values. There are so many other values which are relative. They keep on changing with the time, with the place, with the person. So that is the reason why what is good 1 year back can become bad now. What is bad 1 year back can be good now. And that is the reason why it says that we must make sure that we are not miscarrying justice with our interpretation of good and bad. Right? This is what the question says. How we can do it? What are the examples we can give? For example, take the case of untouchability. It was good during the Vedic period. Why? When people from forests and tribal areas wanted to get themselves integrated with people who were residing in the cities in those days, since their traditions and customs were different, they were asked to stay outside the city limits till they learned those traditions and customs. That is how untouchability had come. In those days it was good. Now can we call it as good thing? Obviously not, because everyone knows the traditions and customs. Right? Similarly, women during the medieval times, in order to protect their chastity, protect them from exploitation by others, they were asked to sit at home. And they were asked to wear veils to cover their face. They were asked to get themselves immolated along with their husbands after the death of their husbands, sati. And they were asked to get married at a very young age, child marriage. They were good in those days because it was contextual. Now are they good? Similarly, when after Industrial Revolution, as we have discussed, these comforts and luxuries, they have improved the lifestyle of people compared to people in the ancient medieval times. It was good. Now the same comforts and luxuries are destroying the ecological systems. They were good at that point of time. Now they are good. Take the case of artificial intelligence. It can have disastrous consequences in the future. That is the reason why we have to make sure that this relativeness of what is just and unjust would not result in miscarriage of justice. Now the critical part of the question here is, how will you ensure it? How will you ensure it? Yes, how will you ensure it? How will you ensure that this relativeness of just and unjust would not result in miscarriage of justice? How will you ensure it? I am asking a question. This is where you have to take the help of one of the important moral philosophers, Thomas Aquinas. What did he say, Thomas Aquinas, in a British moral philosopher? He said that if there is a conflict between primary laws of nature and secondary laws of nature, importance should always be given to primary laws of nature. These secondary laws of nature are man-made laws which keep on changing with the passage of time, with place, with the people. Whereas the primary laws of nature are universal in application. They will never change. If there is conflict, always go by primary laws of nature. Our judiciary also go by mostly the primary laws of nature. They will go beyond the constitutional principles. That is why our judiciary had come out with the concept called constitutional morality. That is what you have to write for this question. Constitutional morality. Right? See, you need in-depth knowledge of everything and also should be able to integrate everything. That is the essence of answer writing. Next, mindless addiction to form, ignoring the substance of the matter, results in rendering injustice. A prospective civil servant is one who ignores such literalness and carries out true intent. Examine the above statement with suitable illustrations. That is what we say. India, like all other countries in the world, mostly the Western capitalist countries, have adopted Weberian bureaucratic structures. And what is the essence of these Weberian bureaucratic structures? The essence is bureaucracy's efficiency is measured in terms of their ability to only implement strictly the rules and regulations. That is what mindless addiction to form, ignoring the substance. The objective of bureaucracy is to maximize welfare of people. And what our bureaucrats should do? They only focus on implementing rules and regulations. That makes them inefficient. That is why we keep on saying in our classes, the functioning of a bureaucracy is such that operation is successful and the patient is dead. You can write these things. They are only concerned about implementing rules and regulations, but not about realizing outcomes. But not about realizing outcomes. Right? That is where the problem. And that is the reason why the question says that a prospective civil servant is the one who ignores such literalness and carries out true intent. For example, an old woman comes to your house in the middle of the night. She is not carrying any written documents to show that she is poor. Looking at her, you know that she is very poor. What will you do? You will help her without worrying about rules and regulations. Similarly, a disaster has struck your district. You don't have money. You can take money from other departments, divert that money for disaster management purposes. That is what we say. That is what we say. On the other hand, if your bureaucracy blindly adheres to only rules and regulations, they can never be successful. And this results in what we call it as goal displacement. Goal displacement. Next, A code of conduct and code of ethics are the sources of guidance in public administration. There is code of conduct already in operation, whereas code of ethics is not yet put in place. Suggest a suitable model for a code of ethics to maintain integrity, probity, and transparency in governance. This is what we keep on studying also all the time. This code of conduct had its origins during the British times. It was Lord Cornwallis who for the first time had come out with this code of conduct for civil servants. Because East India Company, civil servants had become totally corrupt. The objective of code of conduct in those days was to prevent corruption, to prevent indiscipline, to prevent insubordination, and to ensure strict adherence to companies' rules and regulations. After independence, we made changes to code of conduct, wherein we included political neutrality of civil servants also. But for a long period of time, we have not had any code of ethics. The objective of code of conduct is to prevent negative behavior of civil servants. Preventing negative behavior does not mean promoting positive values. And that is the reason why, for the first time in United Kingdom, Nolan Committee recommended a code of ethics. Because by 1990s, countries around the world have opted for a model of administration wherein the citizens would become the center of activities, not a bureaucracy. And that required changes in the attitudes, values, and behaviors. And that is the reason why, Nolan Committee has suggested code of ethics. And the Second Administrative Reforms Commission also, in its report on ethics in governance and also in personal administration, strongly favored code of ethics for civil servants. Suggest a suitable model for code of ethics to maintain integrity, probity, and transparency in governance. What is the suitable model that code of ethics must contain? What can be done? What should be done? First and foremost, this code of ethics should also be given legal status, because code of ethics is only moral in nature but not legal. What is the difference here? Code of conduct is legal. It means that if you do not adhere to the code of conduct, I can punish you in the form of transfers, promotions, postings, suspensions, and everything. But if you do not follow the code of ethics, I cannot do anything. So we must try to integrate code of conduct and code of ethics, wherein wherever it is possible, we must ensure that this code of ethics is also given legal status. For example, how to ensure transparency as part of code of ethics. Section 4 of RTA should be implemented. Section 4 of RTA, wherein every government civil servant must put whatever the information he has at his disposal on the websites on a real-time basis. If he fails to do so, immediately he should be punished. He should be punished. And then, how to ensure integrity and probity in governance. For example, probity in governance or integrity. Again, what should we do? If it is found that any of the decisions taken by the civil servant, have selfish motives, then he should be immediately punished, because he is giving more importance to self-interest rather than societal welfare. And how can we ensure this kind of integrity? Again, by making changes to civil services, conduct rules and regulations. How? As we study, ex post accountability should be replacing ex ante accountability. At present, we have ex post accountability. It must be replaced with ex ante accountability, giving legal status to integrity and probity in governance. Depoliticization of civil services. Why? Because bureaucracy is not willing to ensure integrity and probity because of the fear of political consequences. They can be suspended, their promotions can be stopped, they will be given what is called insignificant postings. They will not get any post-retirement positions. To ensure that, you have to implement these reforms. Again, the questions look very simple. You need in-depth knowledge of public administration. Next, the soul of the new law, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, is justice, equality and impartiality based on Indian culture and ethos. Discuss in this light of a major shift from doctrine of punishment to justice in the present judicial system. So, Indian Penal Code, which was there during the British times. So, what was the objective of this Indian Penal Code during the British times? This Indian Penal Code was formulated by an imperial state for their subjects in the colony. For their subjects in the colony. And that is the reason why, if you look at the entire Indian Penal Code, it is based on only one thing. What is it? Complete mistrust of the native Indians. That is how you have to start your answer with. Complete mistrust of native Indians. And that is the reason why it had given huge amount of discretionary powers to police forces. Police forces have been always, all the time, asked to view subjects, that is the Indians, with suspicion. And that is also the reason why the focus is always on strict punishment. And you have to add one more thing here. The police also, India has inherited Irish police system. They never introduced the British police system in India. British police system wherein police are considered servants, whereas in Irish police system, police is called a force. Even now also we call it as a force only. Because of the fact that there is this kind of mistrust. That is the reason why if you look at any of the provisions of IPC, all of them ultimate objective is how to punish the criminals. And then come to Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Whatever we are saying, take them with pinch of salt. Nothing is there in this Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, but you have to write all the things in the examination to get into services. Write statutory warning. So, what is the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita? This Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita is based on Mahatma Gandhi's dictum. What is it? Mahatma Gandhi says that when a crime is committed, punish the crime and reform the criminal. Punish the crime and reform the criminal. Reform the criminal. Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita is based on this. What are the things that we can say here? In Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, for any kind of petty crimes, the solution is not punishment in the prison. They say that the solution lies in social work. That person who has committed the crime will be asked to perform social work. What is the social work? Cleaning the roads, educating the children, providing services in the hospitals, and cleaning the parks. This is what we call social work. The objective is to reform the criminal. Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Similarly, another important provision of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita is that it treats citizens as sovereign entities. That is the reason why they have removed sedition laws in Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Sedition during the British times was an act against the king, Rajadroha. In IPC it was Rajadroha. That means you are conspiring against the king. We don't have any monarchy now. That is the reason why we call it as now Deshadroha. conspiracy against the country, Deshdroha. That is what Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita talks about. The objective is basically to reform rather than ensuring retributive justice. That is what again you have to quote Mahatma Gandhi. An eye for eye can make the entire world go blind. That is what you have to write for this. Right? Next, in Indian culture and value system, an equal opportunity has been provided irrespective of gender identity. The number of women in public service has been steadily increasing over the years. Examine the gender-specific challenges faced by female public servants and suggest suitable measures to increase their efficiency in discharging their duties and maintaining high standards of probity. Again, the question itself is 200 words. 200 words. And answer has to be written in 150 words. And you say with answer, yes, I agree that our traditions and customs provide equal opportunity, but at the same time, our society has so many problems, so those problems should be solved. Answer is over. Right? I mean, I don't know what is the wisdom of these people who will be formulating the questions. Right? First and foremost, how can you write 150 word answers for these kind of questions? They must have some kind of a mind. You know, if they have mind, why do you call it a UPSC? Right? So coming back here, you know, basically Indian society, as the question says, provides equal opportunity irrespective of gender identity. Is it so? Is it our Indian society? Right? Has ever been the case that in our society women are given equal importance? Never. We always had patriarchal societies, male dominated societies. So we take the first statement with all the salt in the world. Pinch of salt is not enough. All the salt in the oceans, we will take it. But we will say that yes. The number of people, women in public services has been steadily increasing over the years. It has to, thanks to industrial revolution, you know, thanks to the development of service sector, number of people in the public service also is growing. Examine the gender-related specific challenges faced by the female public servants and suggest suitable measures to improve their efficiency. So, what are the crux of the question here is, what are the challenges faced by, you know, female public servants, and what are the solutions? Very specific. What are the challenges faced by female public servants? First and foremost, safety and security at public, you know, safety and security at workplace. Safety and security at workplace. That is the first one. Right? You have to be very specific here. Safety and security at workplace. Second, safety and security in public transportation. Going from home to workplace also. Public transportation. Public transportation. Second. Third, you know, glass ceiling at workplaces. Glass ceiling. GLASS. CEILING. What is the glass ceiling? At the top level, you know, women are not represented enough. Give the example. We still do not have a female chief justice. Glass ceiling. We do not have any female CEOs, and we still do not have any female cabinet secretary. Till now, glass ceiling. Fourth, you know, perception that women cannot take up tough, cannot take up tough assignments. Perception that women cannot take up tough assignments because they are mentally weak. Perception, again, they are mentally weak. Huh? Perception, right? Next, what are the other things that they will face? What are other practical problems faced by women? Pardon? Yes, you know, there is no infrastructure in organizations from gender perspective. This is what our former Chief Justice has said. Why we don't have more female advocates or judges. He said that, tell me in how many high courts we have, washrooms specifically for women. Infrastructure. Right? Infrastructure. Next, what are the other problems faced by women? Practical problems faced by women at workplace. What are the problems? What are other things? Practical problems faced by women at workplaces, especially by public servants. How to balance work life with family life, because women have to perform dual functions. They have to take care of their family as well as their professional life. How to balance, right? How to balance work life with family life, because in India we have gender segregated activities at home, wherein women are expected to cook, clean the house, wash the clothes, whether you are working or not. How to balance those things? Bringing up the children. These are more than enough. It's only a 150 words. You are not going to write a general essay about it. Right? Then reverse them, you will get the solutions. Reverse them. Okay. Wage disparity. No, in public services, no wage disparity. If you are a IAS officer, whether you are a male or a female, you will be getting it. No. In public services, there is no gender. Okay. Please don't bring all those things also. Already men are suffering so much. Right? Write all these things from examination point of view. In real life, it is the men who are suffering. And that is the reason why we keep on saying there should be self-help group for men only. Why should only be for women? Right? So, don't, force me to speak the truth. Right? Coming back here. Mission Karmayogi is aiming for maintaining a very high standard of conduct and behavior to ensure efficiency for serving citizens and in turn developing them. How will this scheme empower the civil servants in enhancing productive efficiency and delivering services at the grassroots level? As usual, the question is 200 words. Right? They have given everything about Mission Karmayogi. What is there to write here? The answer is there in the question itself. It says that Mission Karmayogi is aiming at maintaining very high standard of conduct and behavior to ensure efficiency for serving citizens and in turn developing oneself. And you say that yes, this is the objective of Mission Karmayogi. And the scheme will empower the civil servants in enhancing productive efficiency in delivering services. That's it. Answer is over. So, what do we say here? Mission Karmayogi, as we study, has three important components. First is work, second one is workplace, third is workforce. Work, workplace and workforce. It has three components. It focuses on all these things. First one is work. As part of Mission Karmayogi, you are defining the responsibilities, functions at each and every position. That is the reason why, as we say, the objective of Mission Karmayogi is to move from rule-based administration to role-based governance. The first one. Right? Then workforce, that is employees. Through Mission Karmayogi, the objective here is that employees are given training in improving their behavioral domain and knowledge components. Behavioral competencies, that means learning the right kind of behavior. What is the right kind of behavior? Every civil servant must believe that he is the servant of the people, not the master. From colonial attitudes to democratic values. Domain competencies. as we keep on saying, we are living in the age of globalization, and what is required is a specialization. And that is the reason why Mission Karmayogi focuses on domain competencies. Domain competencies. Improving the specialized knowledge of civil servants. And Mission Karmayogi also focuses on improving the knowledge. That is the reason why civil servants will be encouraged through Mission Karmayogi to submit these research papers in globally reputed journals, so that everyone can learn about the best administrative practices. Civil servants will be encouraged to take up academic positions in universities in foreign countries, again to improve their knowledge. Because the basic thing is that the qualification is only graduation. Definitely you need more in-depth specialized knowledge. That is where Mission Karmayogi will be looking at. Next, workforce. What kind of work environment is there here? What kind of work environment is there here? So what do we say here? What kind of work environment is there? As this second ERC also has observed, the work environment is such that the work is done in independent silos without any proper coordination. And it results in unnecessary conflicts and duplication of work. And another problem here is that seniors will never properly guide their subordinates. That is the reason why Mission Karmayogi would look at these things as part of work. There should be a proper mentorship by the seniors towards their juniors. There should be proper mentorship by the seniors towards their juniors, so that the junior officers can learn all the tricks of the trade by observing their seniors. That is what Mission Karmayogi focuses on. And lastly, the most important part of Mission Karmayogi is focusing on service delivery mechanisms. Focus is always on service delivery mechanisms. What is the focus here? The objective is to provide world-class services to the citizens. World-class services to the citizens. World-class services to the citizens. Right? And that is the reason why performance evaluation of a civil servant will be done in terms of their ability to provide world-class services to citizens. Performance evaluation is done in terms of their ability to provide world-class services to citizens. That is what Mission Karmayogi is all about. Right? And since we are only talking about the good aspects of Mission Karmayogi, let us not talk about the bad aspects. The question is only about good aspects. Right? So that is what you have to write for this question. Okay? Now let us move on to the case studies. As usual, each case study is around one general essay. And what you have to do, as part of your answers, you have to do précis writing, which is there in English language paper. Right? So ethics case studies are part of English language paper. There is a technological company named ABC Incorporated. Why the name of the company is ABC? Because the company does not know any alphabets beyond ABC. It is a technological company, but not a company with the knowledge of English. Please remember. Right? Which is the second largest worldwide, situated in the third world. No one nowadays uses the word third world. It is highly derogatory term. You can file cases against UPSC. Right? Third world is a highly derogatory term. That is the reason why United Nations also uses only developing countries, never third world. Right? You are the chief executive officer and majority shareholder of this company. Great. An NPL person is made chief executive officer. Very good. Creating daydreams for you people. After reading this only, you have tears in your eyes and you will not be able to read the rest of the question and you will not answer also. Chief executive officer of second largest company worldwide. Why will you prepare for UPSC then? Right? Okay. The first technological improvements have raised worries among environmental activists, regulatory authorities and general public over the sustainability of this scenario. You confront substantial issues about the business environmental footprint. In 2023, your organization had a significant increase of 48% in greenhouse gas emissions compared to the levels recorded in 2019. From 2019 on, compared to 2019, your organization had a 48% increase in greenhouse gas emissions. The significant rise in energy consumption is mainly due to the surging energy requirements of your data centers, fueled by the exponential expansion of AI. AI-powered services need much more computational resources and electrical energy compared to conventional online activities, notwithstanding their notable gains. The technology's proliferation has led to a growing concern over the environmental repercussions, resulting in an increase in warnings. AI models, especially those used in extensive machine learning and data processing, exhibit much greater energy consumption. And just a minute, where it is. Notwithstanding notable gains. The technological proliferation has led to growing concern over environmental repercussions, resulting in an increase in warnings. AI models, especially those used in extensive machine learning and data processing, exhibit much greater energy consumption than conventional computer tasks, with an exponential increase. Although there is already a commitment and goal to achieve net zero emissions by 2030, the challenge of lowering emissions seems, lowering emissions overwhelming as the integration of AI continues to increase. Why should they give such long paragraphs? Stupid, you never are concerned about the readers. Is it possible for you to read such long paragraphs without losing your concentration, attention and temper? Right? Temper also important. Anger is always a constructive emotion. And whoever has written this must be, given cane treatment. Right? Not sugar cane. Right? To achieve this goal, a substantial investment in renewable energy use would be necessary. The difficulty is exacerbated by the competitive environment of the technology sector, where rapid innovation is essential for preserving market standing and shareholders' worth. To achieve a balance between innovation, profitability and sustainability, a strategic move is necessary that is in line with both business objectives and also ethical obligations. What is your immediate response to the challenge posed in the above case? Discuss the ethical issues involved in the above case. Your company has been identified to be penalized by the technological giants. What logical and ethical argument will you put forth to convince about its necessity? Being a conscious being, what measures would you adopt to maintain balance between AI innovation and environmental? If you are a conscious being, you will not be doing all those things. That's ridiculous, This is So, you know, you are, this is what, you are used to beating your wife every day. Being a conscious being, how will you reduce your beatings? That is what the question says. Right? I mean, looking at the ridiculousness of this ethics case studies, that is the thing. So, let us try to understand this case study in a very simple, precise, concise manner from Fool's perspective. Right? What does case study says? That you are, executive officer, chief and majority shareholder. Your company now is into artificial intelligence. And it has grown very fast also. And this artificial intelligence, one of the ethical concerns of artificial intelligence is the kind of damage it will be causing to environment. The kind of damage it is causing to environment. Because it requires, as the question itself, more electrical energy, more computing, and more consumption of energy power, which will be causing damage. And you are facing stiff competition. The question says that there is a commitment to achieve net zero emissions by 2013, Kyoto Protocol, all of them, all those useless things as usual. Right? Now, and you are also facing at the same time tough competition. So, three things here. One, your profitability. Second, retaining your market leadership. Third, protecting the environment. And they are all what we call the 2% zero-sum game. For example, if you have to spend money on renewable sources of energy, automatically your profitability will come. If your profitability is reduced, you will not be spending more on innovations to retain your market leadership. Right? So, on top of it, your company also is identified and penalized, to be penalized by technological giants, because you are damaging ecological systems. Under those circumstances, first question says that what are the ethical issues involved in the case? Second question says that what kind of arguments will you give for continuation of your company? Third question is how to ensure balance between these three things: profitability, innovation and environment. Please remember, all three questions are interrelated only. Right? First of all, what are the ethical? Yes. Now, what is your immediate response? Sorry, what is your immediate response to the challenges posed in the above case? Yeah, right. What will you do immediately? So, what do you think will we be doing? What do you think? What is the solution? And what are the ethical issues? When we answer the question, we start with the ethical issues and then we will come to what are the immediate action. When you are writing, we will start with what is the immediate action, but when we are answering, what are the ethical issues involved here? What are the ethical issues involved here? Simple, I am saying ethical. Self-interest versus societal welfare. Self-interest versus societal welfare. Self-interest versus societal welfare. That is a simple ethical issue. Second ethical issue is short-term profits versus long-term consequences. Second ethical issue is short-term profits versus and long-term consequences. Long-term consequences. Then what are the other ethical issue here for your company? Means versus ends. Means, MEANS versus ends. Can your company justify illegal or immoral or unethical means to maximize profits. Means versus ends. These are all the ethical issues. Right? What is your immediate response to the challenge? What is your immediate response to the challenge? What do you do? What do you do? Once you have identified the ethical issues, then you immediately taking decisions on the basis of this. First one, what we have mentioned is, what is the first ethical issue we have mentioned? Self-interest versus societal welfare. You know, this is where we have two schools of thought. One is Adam Smith, who said that self-interest can easily transform into societal welfare, which is not in a reality, because self-interest will never result in societal welfare, only comes to some extent. After that, self-interest will only result in more exploitation and more manipulation. So that is the reason why, as part of this, you identify the fact that your long-term profitability and sustainability depends only on overall societal welfare. That is the reason why you are willing to compromise with your short-term profits for long-term sustainability. And third thing, as Mahatma Gandhi says, one of the 7 sins. You know what is the 7 sins? Mahatma Gandhi, one of the 7 sins? Commerce without morality. Commerce without morality. And by taking into consideration all these things, what is your immediate response? You will give more importance to renewable sources of energy. You will compromise with your profits and focus on renewable sources of energy. You will compromise with your profits, and you will give more importance to renewable sources of energy. Right? You will give more importance to renewable sources of energy. You will compromise with your profits. That is the immediate response. Right? Then, and your company has been identified to be penalized by technological giants. Then what is your response? What kind of logical and ethical arguments will you put forth to convince about its necessity? So what kind of, again the question says that what kind of logical and ethical arguments you will put forward? You will say that if you are not doing it, someone else will be doing it. Because this is the age of a cutthroat competition. If you are the only one who is not doing it, someone else will be doing it. Because someone else will be using the artificial intelligence only. Because nobody can stop the use of artificial intelligence. That is what Victor Hugo says. Nobody can stop, the idea whose time has come. Victor Hugo. This is what Manmohan Singh has quoted in his budget speech in 1991. So when the time has come, nobody can stop it. You will tell the technological giants that if not you, someone else will be doing it. And what is the ethical argument you will give? You are willing to, invest in renewable energy. And you will be more transparent. Please remember, all the time, transparency is the most important thing. You are willing to tell them that this is what is happening, this is how our greenhouse gases have increased, and this is how we are trying to reduce it. You will give them the timeline that, from 2019 to 2023, it has gone up by 48%. And by 2030, we will bring them back to 2019 levels. You will give them the commitment. Next, that is what you will be doing. That is also answer to the last one. You will be spending a lot on renewable energy resources. Second, you will be cutting down your profits and you will be spending more on research and development. Because you will not give dividends to your shareholders. You will cut down your profits and use that money more on innovation to stay as market leader also. As I said, short term versus long term. That is what you are writing for this question. Right? Basically, you are quoting Mahatma Gandhi, you are quoting Adam Smith, you are quoting Victor Hugo. Right? Hugo, Victor Hugo. Right? Next, Raman is a senior IPS officer. Thank God they did not say you are. Right? Right? Again, you are a senior IPS officer. Again, you have tears in your eyes. Right? You are now not become a postal service also. Very police service also. Raman is a senior IPS officer who has been recently posted as a DG of a state, Director General of Police. Among the various issues and problems, challenges which needed his immediate attention, the issue relating to recruitment of unemployed youth by unknown terrorist group was a matter of grave concern. Basically, an unidentified terrorist group is recruiting unemployed youth. Maybe you there. Maybe you are there. Because you can identify more with unemployed youth to Raman. Right? Empathy is always needed, one of the important values in civil services. Right? It was noted that unemployment was relatively high in the state. You already have tears in your eyes because you are the one there. The problem of unemployment amongst graduates and those with higher education was much more grave. You are only graduates, so you don't have to worry about more higher education. That's a different thing. Thus, they were vulnerable and soft targets. You have also been approached. Right? In the review meeting taken by him with his senior officers of DIG range and above, it came to light that a new terrorist group has emerged at the global level. It has launched a massive drive to recruit young unemployed people. Special focus was to pick young people from a particular community. That said organization seemed to have a clear objective of utilizing them for carrying out militant activities. If you are recruited for a terrorist organization, the objective is to using them for militant activities, not charitable activities, for education and health. What nonsense is this? Okay. It was also gathered that the said group is desperately trying to spread its tentacles in the state. Obviously, that is what they want. Every organization wants to spread its activities. If you are a multinational company, you want to spread your activities. You are a multinational terrorist organization, your objective also. A definite reliable intelligence tip was received by the state CID and the cyber cell that a large number of such unemployed youth have already been contacted by the terrorist outfit through social media and the local communal organizations and other contacts. The need of the hour was to act swiftly and to check these or eliminate designs before they assume serious proportions. Discreet inquiries by the police through cyber cell revealed that good numbers of unemployed youth are very active on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. I know all of you are active on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Right? And see, UPSC is asking this in ethics case study. And in general essay, if you are not on social media, what nonsense is this? You are asking completely contradictory questions. If you are active on social media, they say that you are part of terrorist groups. If you are not active in essay, you say that, it means that you are not part of the society. You cannot be same things at the same time. And on average, many of them were spending 6 to 8 hours each day using electronic devices and internet. It also came to light that such unemployed youth were showing sympathy and endorsing the messages received from certain persons, allegedly the contact persons of that global terrorist group. That's what I said, multinational company and multinational terrorist groups. Right? Next, their social media accounts revealed that their strong affinity to such groups in as much as many of them started forwarding anti-national tweets on their WhatsApp and Facebook accounts. It seems that they succumbed to their ploy and started propagating a secessionist ideology. Their posts were hypercritical of the government's initiatives, policies, and subscribing to extreme belief and promoting extremism. What are the options available to Raman to tackle the above situation? What measures would you suggest for strengthening the existing setup to ensure that such groups do not succeed in penetrating and vitiating the atmosphere in the state? In the above scenario, what action plan would you advise for enhancing the intelligence gathering mechanism of the police force? this require a good knowledge of internal security, a topic called internal security in your general studies. So, what is the essence of entire case study? There is a state. In that particular state, there is this global terror organization are trying to expand their operations, and they are recruiting. They have identified unemployed young people, unemployed educated young people, to carry out with their terrorist activities. They were using social media to recruit the people, and it can lead to much more serious law and order problems. If you are posted as a DGP, what will you do? That is what simple question. What are the options available to tackle the above situation? What are the options available to him? What measures would you suggest for strengthening the existing setup to ensure that such groups do not succeed in penetrating and initiating the atmosphere? In above scenario, what action plan would you suggest for enhancing intelligence gathering mechanism of the police force? All three questions are interrelated. So, what are the options available? First, treat it only as a law and order problem, and try to take a strict action against the groups as well as those who are joining those groups. Treat it as only a law and order problem. Only as a law and order problem. Treat it as only a law and order problem. Second option is, adopt a much more comprehensive approach. Do not treat it only as a law and order problem. Treat it as a socio-economic political issue. Socio-economic political issue. Treat it as a socio-economic political issue. Right? Right? Now, if the first option, if you are treating it as only as a law and order problem, you will not be able to go to the root of the problem. You will only be looking at the periphery of the problem. You will arrest them, put them in jail. That will that solve the problem? No. In the short term, immediately, you can curb their activities, but in the long term, it will continue. And the second one is the best one. Treat it as law and order, socio-economic, political. Treat it as a comprehensive issue. What measures would you suggest? And what would you enhance? First and foremost, as I have mentioned, immediately what will you do? Immediately you identify with the help of your cyber security network those who are posting those messages. You will identify those who are posting those messages, and also try to identify their ringmasters in foreign countries. By ensuring better coordination between RAW, Research and Analysis Wing, Cyber Security Wing, Ministry of Home Affairs, Internal Security and State Police Force. There must be a completely coordinated effort of all of them. Coordinated effort, because it says that global terrorist group. Global terrorist group. Right? And identify the handlers in the foreign countries. Second, identify those who have become part of this terrorist group in your state immediately. Right? Next thing what you have to do after doing this, next thing is go to the root of the problem. What is the root of the problem here? Unemployment. Unemployment. Second root of the problem is that people only from one specific community were identified. Only from one specific community were identified. So the first one is economic, second one is social, third one is political. Why they have become anti-government? Third one is political. Why did they become anti-government? And this is where again a coordinated effort is needed. This is where you need coordinated effort. This is where you need coordinated effort, right? What kind of coordinated effort that we are talking about here? Ministry of Home Affairs, Home Minister in the state, then Industry Minister for Employment, then Education Minister regarding education, right? And the service sector, where again employment. So what the government should do, first and foremost, the government should focus on first removing the wrong perception among the community people that they are being discriminated against. The chief minister or the government should come out with a counter propaganda. He should come out with a counter propaganda, again in cyberspace as well as in reality also. Counter propaganda to nullify the propaganda of these communal groups. To nullify the propaganda of communal groups. Then the government should also focus on changing the focus of these people. How? By creating employment opportunities for them in the immediate context, depending on their educational qualifications. It can start a job mela, job fair, wherein it can invite the private sector, they can invite the private sector and public sector organizations to participate in the job mela, job fair, to provide employment to them. Next, the government should also focus on providing skill-based training to them. Skill-based training to them, because they must be deviated from those organizations and activities. Skill-based training should be provided to them. They must be provided skill-based training. Next, what can else be done? Intelligence gathering mechanism. This is where again you need knowledge of internal security. What is required here is community policing. The word community policing you have to write here. Community policing. What is this community policing? That is what we study. That is what Second Administrative Reforms Commission has said in its report on terrorism. That is the reason why I keep on saying, for UPSC examination you should not go beyond anything beyond the second ERC reports. In its report on terrorism, how to tackle terrorism, that is what the second ERC has said. What is this community policing? Every citizen is a police without uniform. Every citizen is a police without uniform. What the government should do, it should encourage the citizens to proactively help the law enforcement agencies. Why? Because for these kind of all these terror related activities, again as we study in disaster management, proactive steps are more important, preventive. That is the reason why developing human intelligence at the ground level is very important. Developing human intelligence at the ground level. Developing human intelligence at the ground level. Right? Developing human intelligence at the ground level. That is very, very important. And this developing human intelligence at the ground level with the help of community policing. Because people themselves will identify those elements, will inform the police forces. For community policing, what is required in the reform? That is changing the perception of citizens towards the police. See, the question looks very simple. You have to write so much of technical answer here. Changing the perception of citizens towards the police. For this, you have to make your police citizen friendly. Sensitivity training should be given to the police forces. Sensitivity training should be given to the police forces. Right? And all these things you have to write for this question. All these things. Next, let us move on to the next question. Will the multi-pronged strategy of the central and state government, especially in the last few years, so the Naxalite problem has been resolved to a large extent in the affected states of the country. In fact, in my test series ethics, I have given the same question, Naxalites thing. Very easy to predict the questions. Very easy to predict the questions, case studies. Right? Only thing is that you need administrative perspective. You have to think like an administrator when you are setting the case studies. And that is what is lacking in most of the people. That is the reason why you can see the case studies of these coaching institutes. Absolutely ridiculous. Right? And that is the reason why I keep on saying ethics marks will never cross 90. Right? Mainly due to the involvement of foreign countries. Rohit is posted as SP. Thank God your name is not Rohit. SP Special Operations for the last 1 year in one of the districts which is still affected by the Naxalite problem. The district administration has taken a lot of development works in the recent past in the Naxal affected areas to win the hearts and minds of the people. What is this nonsense giving such long paragraphs? Right? Huh? I am saying I am not saying, giving long questions. I am talking about long paragraphs. Right? There is no full stop or comma. It will go on and go on only. Over a period, the district administration has taken a lot of development workers in the recent past in the Naxal affected areas to win the hearts and minds of the people. Okay, hearts and minds. Why not lungs and kidneys? I mean, they are also as important as other bodies or other body parts. Why do we people only say hearts and minds? Why not lungs and kidneys? Because if your heart has problem, heart transplantation can be there. What about your lungs? Can there be lung transplantation? No. They are more important than heart. Right? No, this is only observation. Right? Next. Over a period of time, Rohit has established an extensive intelligence network to get the real-time information regarding the movement of Naxalite cadre. To instill confidence in the public and have moral ascendancy over the Naxalites, a number of cordons and such operations are being conducted by the police. Rohit, who himself was leading one of the contingents, got a message through his intelligence sources about the 10 hardcore Naxalites were hiding in a particular district, particular village with sophisticated weapons. You are one of them. Without wasting any time, Rohit reached the targeted village with his team and laid out a foolproof cordon and started carrying out a systematic search. During the search, his team managed to overpower all the Naxalites with their automatic weapons also. However, in the meantime, more than 500 tribal women surrounded the village and started marching towards the targeted house. They were shouting and demanding the immediate release of the insurgents since they are their protectors and saviors. The situation on the ground was becoming very critical as the tribal women were extremely agitated and aggressive. Rohit tried to contact his superior officer, IG Special Operations of the state on the radio set and on the mobile phone, but failed to do so due to poor connectivity. Rohit was in a great dilemma since out of the Naxalites apprehended, 2 were not only hardcore top insurgents with prize money of 10 lakhs on their heads, but were also involved in a recent ambush on the security forces. However, he did not, if he did not release the Naxalites, the situation could get out of control since the tribal women were aggressively charging towards them. In that case, to control the situation, Rohit might have to resort to firing, which may lead to valuable loss of civilian lives, would further complicate the situation. What are the options available with the Rohit to cope with the situation? What are the ethical dilemmas faced by the Rohit? Which of the options do you think would be more appropriate for Rohit to adopt and why? In the present situation, what are the extra precautionary measures to be taken by the police in dealing with women protesters? Right? So basically, what are the case study says? Rohit is Superintendent of Police, and the government of India had taken in the recent past so many measures that almost made sure that Naxalism had become part of history. That is what recently our Home Minister also has said. By 2026, there will not be any Naxalism in India. There will only be terrorism. Sorry, there will not be any Naxalism in India. That's what he was said, right? So, sometimes you speak truth only. That's what the problem, right? There will not be any Naxalism. And this Rohit is a superintendent of police, and he has been posted there. And he had developed human intelligence and also done very good work, and captured 10 hardcore Naxalites with automatic weapons. And he was about to take them. That is when the village where he was, he had captured those Naxalites was surrounded by 500 women. 500 only? How many women? 500. Yes, very good. It's not 499 nor 501, only 500. Right? Who has calculated their number? Did Rohit calculate? Okay. When he is calculating only the numbers, who will solve the problem then? Okay, fine. So, basically, they were demanding the release of the Naxalites because these Naxalites were the saviors and protectors of those people. And he wanted to contact his superior officer. Due to absence of communication networks, he could not do so. Under those circumstances, what should he do? What are the options available to Rohit? Two options. Here, first option is take action against the woman and take the Naxalites. Second one is leave the Naxalites. Only two options. Right? Leave the Naxalites as demanded by women. These two options. What should he do? What should he do? What should Rohit do? What are the ethical dilemmas faced by Rohit here? What is more appropriate and how to tackle women? So let us look at all of them. First option, take action against women and take the Naxalites with himself. What is the merit? Because they are hardcore Naxalites, and if they are released, it can result in more Naxal activities. What is the demerit? It can bring bad name to the government if you are taking action against a woman. It can propel more Naxalites also, more tribals joining Naxalites. On the other hand, if you go by the demand of the woman, what is the merit? What is the merit? The merit is that you are not causing any kind of embarrassment to the government by taking action against women, and you are not also, inadvertently promoting Naxalism also by taking action. What is the demerit? Your actions are illegal as well as unethical also. Right? Then what are the ethical dilemmas being faced by Rohit here? What are ethical dilemmas faced by Rohit here? So what are the ethical dilemmas faced by him? What are the ethical dilemmas faced by Rohit here? Morality versus legality. Morality versus legality. What is this morality versus legality that we are talking about here? What is morality versus legality that we are talking about here? That means, if he takes actions against the woman there, it is legal because they are coming in, they are upsetting law and order. But it can be immoral, unethical, because he would be causing harm to the woman there. He is supposed to protect people, not to punish people. His actions can be immoral and unethical. And on the other hand, if he does not take any action, again the problem. That is also a problem. Next, what options do you think more appropriate for Rohit, and what should? As we keep on saying here, the two options that we have discussed always results in win-loss situation. Win-loss situation. The two options. So, what should he come out with? He should come out with a solution which is called a win-win situation. What is that win-win solution? He must be able to take Naxalites along with himself, and at the same time, he is also not causing any harm to the woman. Any harm to the woman. And what will he do? That is where we talk about emotional intelligence. That is what you have to write here. What will he do? First and foremost, he will tell his force not to take any kind of coercive action against the woman there. Never take any kind of use of force against the woman there. Second, he would sit with the women and explain to them what these Naxalites have done. He has carrying the mobile phone, so he will be having all the proof of what these Naxal leaders have done, including the recent ambush. Third, he would explain to the women there, without the Naxalites, how the government is implementing all the developmental and welfare schemes. And he will ask them whether they have received the benefits or not. As the question itself clearly mentions that the government is focusing on providing the benefits to the people there. And fourth, how these Naxalites, if they are released, how if the Naxalites, if they are released, they can be again a danger to the lives of this rural women only by coming in the way of implementation of these schemes. Again, provide the proof there, how these Naxalites have destroyed the electrical poles, how they have destroyed the communication lines, how they have dug up the roads which are used by these women on a daily basis, which is coming in their way. And if you explain all these things, automatically they will understand what and why they are doing wrong things. With their consent and approval, he will be taking them along with himself. That is what is called a win-win situation, without using the force. And in the present situation, what are the extra precautionary measures to be taken by the police in dealing with the women protesters? First and foremost, to deal with the women protesters, you must have female police force. Female police force. Second thing, even in the case of female police also, strict instructions will be given to them not to use any physical force. Third, as I have mentioned, emotional intelligence. Try to understand the problems and try to convince them. That is what we say. One of the most important values is persuasion as part of emotional intelligence. You must have the ability to persuade others. And that is what you have to write here for this question. Right? And how many case studies are there? Three more case studies. 10, 11 and 12. Three more case studies. Can we take a break for 5 minutes and come back? Right? Yes, we will come back after 5 minutes. Because ethics paper, it takes a lot of time. Right? That is the reason why. Let us take break for 5 minutes and come back. So let us look at other case studies. Dr. Srinivasan is a senior scientist working for a reputed biotechnology company known for its cutting-edge research in pharmaceuticals. Dr. Srinivasan is heading a research team working on a new drug aimed at treating a rapidly spreading variant of a new viral infectious disease. The disease has been rapidly spreading across the world, and the cases reported in the country are also increasing. There is a huge pressure on Dr. Srinivasan's team to expedite the trials for the drug, as there is significant market for it, and the company wants to get the first mover advantage in the market. During a team meeting, some team members suggest some shortcuts for expediting the clinical trials for the drug and for getting the requisite approvals. These include manipulating data to exclude some negative outcomes and also selectively reporting positive results, foregoing the process of informed consent and using compounds already patented by a rival company, rather than developing one's own component. Dr. Srinivasan is not comfortable taking such shortcuts. At the same time, he realizes that meeting the targets is impossible without using the means. What would you do in such a situation? Examine the options, consequence in the light of ethical questions involved. How can data ethics and drug ethics save humanity at large in such a scenario? I think I have come to the last question, I think, but no problem. We'll do it. We can go back to the previous questions later. So, it is basically about research in drugs. Srinivasan is heading a reputed biotechnology company. He is heading a team working on a new drug, right? That will treat a new virus infectious disease. And as usual, the trials are not conducted. But there is so much of pressure on him to expedite the trials so that the drug can be brought into the market as soon as possible. And at the same time, his rivals are also trying to develop the drug. And some of the components to develop the drug, he has to take it from his own rivals also. Under those circumstances, what should Srinivasan do? What should he do? What should he do? What would you do in such a situation? Examine your options and consequences in the light of ethical issues involved. How can data ethics and drug ethics can save humanity at large in such a situation? So, all the three questions again are interrelated. What should he do? This is what first of all, once you know the ethical issues, automatically you can come out with the solution. What are the ethical issues involved here? First and foremost, means versus ends. Means versus ends. What does it mean? It means that can illegal, immoral, unethical means justify the ends? What do we mean here? Using the components of a rival company, not conducting enough trials before releasing the drug in the market. Means versus ends. That is where we study as part of deontological ethics. Second ethical issue here is, as usual, self-interest, that is profit maximization versus societal welfare. Self-interest versus societal welfare. Self-interest versus societal welfare. What does it mean? It means, should the company only focus on maximizing its profits at the cost of the society? Why? Because you cannot release the drugs without conducting enough trials, right? That is what it is. What would you do in such a situation? As usual, for these kind of questions, the answers are always the same. The answers are always the same. What are the answers? You will resist yourself from adopting immoral and unethical means. Why? Why? This is again from the perspective of the organization. What is the perspective of the organization that we are talking about here? In the pursuit of short-term profits, you can compromise with the long-term credibility of the institution. For example, without conducting enough clinical trials, if the drug is released in the market, and if it has negative consequences, it can impact the credibility of the organization. So short-term profits can have long-term consequences. Can have long-term consequences, adverse consequences. Second, as I have mentioned, societal welfare. Because your organization, for that matter, any other organization, their success, their profits, their sustainability depends on overall peace, harmony, and welfare of the society. And both of them cannot be delinked. Give the examples here. Those organizations, industrial organizations, that have compromised with their ethical principles have collapsed. Give the examples here. During this global recession of 2009, this Lehman Brothers, which has adopted unethical, immoral means, had collapsed overnight, even though it was there for more than 150 years. That is the reason why this kind of unethical, immoral means. Lehman Brothers was only investment company, it did not impact the people directly. On the other hand, you are a drug manufacturing company, it can impact. And tomorrow, if it is found by the government that you have not followed the proper processes, you can be imprisoned also. Your company can be blacklisted, you can be imprisoned also. That is the reason why short-term profits can never justify long-term sustainability concerns. Again, Mahatma Gandhi, deontological ethics. Means are as equally important as the ends. That is what you have to write for this question. Next, come to 10th question. Sneha is a senior manager working for a big reputed hospital chain in a mid-sized city. She has been made in charge of the new super specialty center that the hospital's buildings with the state-of-art equipment and world-class medical facilities. The building has been reconstructed and she is starting the procurement process for various equipments and machines. As the head of the committee responsible for procurement, she has invited bids from all the interested reputed vendors dealing with medical equipment. She notices that her brother, who is a well-known supplier in this domain, has also sent his expression of interest. Since the hospital is privately owned, it is not mandatory for her to select only the lowest bidder. Also, she is also aware that her brother's company has been facing some financial difficulties and a big supply order will help him recover. At the same time, allocating the contract to her brother might bring the charges of favoritism against her and tarnish her image. The hospital management trusts her fully and would support any decision of hers. What would Sneha's course of action? How would she justify what she chooses to do? In that case, how is medical ethics compromised with vested personal interest? Again, very simple case study. Sneha is a senior manager in a big hospital chain, and she is in charge of the super specialty center, and she is procuring equipment, and her brother is also one of the suppliers, and she has invited the bids. He also has sent an expression of interest. What should she do under those circumstances? What are the options for her? Again, two options. What are the options? Two options. What are they? First, give the contract to her brother. Second, reject her brother's EOI. Right? If she gives contract to her brother, what is the merit? Being part of family, she is taking care of her brother's financial interests also, because as the question itself mentions here, her brother's organization is facing financial crisis. It can help her brother to come out of the financial crisis. What is the demerit? She is compromising with the integrity of the organization. If she does not give the contract to her brother, then what is the merit? She is putting self-interest above she is putting organizational interest above self-interest. And what is the demerit? She may not be helping her brother. She may not be doing her duties as a family member. So, under those circumstances, what should she do? What should she do? So, after receiving her brother's EOI also, expression of interest, if she is rejecting it, that is also prejudices. Prejudices should not be either in favor or against. Biases cannot be either in favor or against. Just because her brother has also applied does not mean that automatically he should be rejected. Everyone should be given equal opportunity. Everyone should go. So that is the reason why, what will she do? First and foremost, when it comes to giving the tenders, what she will do? She will recuse herself from taking decisions. She will make her conflict of interest public. Saying that since my brother also has applied, I will not be part of decision making group. That is the first thing she will do. Since my brother has also applied, there is a conflict of interest here, and since the conflict of interest is here, I will not be part of decision making process. Right? Second, she will ask the decision making group to define the quality, the standards of equipment. To define the quality and standard of the equipment. Third, to ensure transparency, all the tenders will be opened. In front of those who have applied for those tenders, to ensure transparency. And after checking the quality, the tender will be given to the lowest bidder. It will be given to the lowest bidder. If that lowest bidder is her brother, it will be given to her brother also. Why? If it is given to her brother, there will not be any accusations of prejudices and biases. Why? Because she has completely recused herself from the entire tendering process. Everything is done in a transparent, accountable and efficient manner. Now, next, let us assume that she has not got the tender, her brother has not got the tender. Then what she can do? She can use her personal influences to help her brother in some other way, without causing any kind of damage to the interests of her own organization. Being a part of the family, she also has the responsibility to take care of the family. She can use her personal contacts, she can use her personal relations to help her brother to get some other contacts. That is what you will say. Next, how medical ethics is compromised, and this is what you will say, because what is happening here is that in most of these organizations, because of the self-interest, because of the prejudices and biases, most of these contracts are given to the relatives of the superintendent, hospital superintendents, and this is what is happening in mostly. Why this question was asked? Because of RG Kar case, Calcutta, wherein the medical superintendent had given all the contracts to his own people, in the process compromising with the quality of the equipment also. And what is the long-term solution? The one which I have mentioned. E-tenders, quality checking, and then doing it in a very transparent and accountable manner. And if any of the people who are part of the decision making process have self-interest, they must declare conflict of interest and recuse themselves from taking the decisions. That is what you have to write for this question. Next, with the summer heat being exceptionally severe this year, the district has been facing severe water shortage. The district collector has been mobilizing his subordinate officers to conserve the remaining water resource for preventing the district from plunging into acute drinking water crisis. Along with an awareness campaign for conserving water, strict measures have been taken for stopping the over-exploitation of groundwater. Vigilance teams have been deployed to tour the villages and find the farmers who are drawing water from deep bore wells or from the river reservoir for the irrigation. The farmers are agitated by such action. A delegation of farmers meets the district collector with their issues and complain that while they are not being allowed to irrigate their crops, big industries located near the river are drawing huge amounts of water through deep borewells for their industrial processes. The farmers allege that their administration is anti-farmer and corrupt, being bribed by the industry. The district needs to placate the farmers as they are threatening to go on a prolonged protest. At the same time, the district collector has also to deal with the water crisis. The industry cannot be closed as this would result in large number of workers being unemployed. Discuss all the options available to the district collector as a district magistrate. As a district magistrate means you are responsible for maintaining law and order. Next, what suitable action can be taken in view of mutually compatible interests of the stakeholders? Not mutually compatible or uncompatible, non-compatible. Okay. What are the potential administrative and ethical dilemmas faced by the district collector? So, what is the case study here? What does the case study talk about? It says that a district is facing a severe water shortage. It is facing severe water shortage. And the district collector has started an awareness campaign also among the people of the district regarding how to conserve water and how to use water in a more judicious manner. And two important sections here. One is farmers and there are industrialists. So the district administration has warned the farmers not to use underground water and also not to use the water in the river for irrigation purposes. They are conducting regular inspections. At the same time, industry is also using huge amount of water. Farmers are agitated because all the restrictions were imposed only on them, whereas industry was given continuous water supply. It was given continuous water supply. And they have threatened a very serious agitation also. It is becoming a law and order problem. And the problem here is that if the water is stopped for industrial purposes, it can lead to unemployment. It can lead to unemployment. And farmers are threatening agitation. It is also resulting in law and order problem. Law and order problem. So what should be done? If you are a district collector, first, how do you deal with the problem as a district magistrate? Law and order problem. Farmers are agitating. Second, what suitable action can be taken to ensure that you are able to protect the interests of everyone? And what are the ethical dilemmas, administrative dilemmas faced by the district collector in the whole process? Let us start with the last one. What are the ethical dilemmas here? Ethical administrative dilemmas. The administrative dilemma here is how to allocate the limited water in the district that is available, for both irrigation and industrial purposes. For both industrial and irrigation purposes, along with household consumption. Along with household consumption. That means water is necessary for drinking and irrigation and for industrial purposes. That is the administrative dilemma. And it is always a 2% zero sum game. That means a 2% zero sum game means if you are allocating water to one, you will not be able to allocate water to other. 2% zero sum game. Right? So, and then of course you have to allocate water for drinking water purposes also, for consumption. Administrative problem. And what is the ethical dilemma here? Ethical dilemma here is, which comes from administrative dilemmas. Ethical dilemma, who is more important for you? Farmers or industrialists or common citizens? Ethical dilemma. Who should be given priority? Who should be given priority? Farmers, industrialists and common man. Right? What are the options available and what are the actions that should be taken here? So, what as a district collector, you should be doing? What as a district collector you should be doing? What are the actions you will take? And how will you treat the problem as a district magistrate? First and foremost, it has become a law and order issue, because farmers are threatening agitation. As a district magistrate, you must think first this as a law and order problem. So what you have to do? You have to prevent the farmers from agitating. So what will you do? Immediately, as a district magistrate, you will call a meeting of the farmers, the leaders of the farmers. You will call a meeting of the leader of the farmers, along with representatives from media and NGOs also in the district. Why? Because media should always be on the side of the administration, because media should not spread any kind of unnecessary lies to sensationalize the issue. These are all part of emotional intelligence. Right? In the presence of media, in the presence of prominent NGOs, in the presence of farmer leaders, you will tell them the exact position. Transparency is the most important part of good governance. You will tell them that this is the amount of water that we have in the district. And these are all the stakeholders here. Who are the stakeholders that we are talking about here? One is the common people, farmers and industrialists. You will tell them that these are all the stakeholders. This is the water we have available, and this is how we are distributing till now. You are not going to keep anything secret. You will be telling them that this is the amount of water going to industrialists. This is the amount of water that is being spent by the farmers. This is the amount of water that is being spent on drinking water purposes. And you will tell them that under these circumstances, you should be focusing on solving the problem. If farmers try to make it as a law and order problem by conducting agitations, then your focus will be shifted and the problem can get complicated. Again, as I said, emotional intelligence. You have to use your emotional intelligence, skills of persuasion. And you will tell them that whatever the solution you will come out with, you will ensure that the interests of the farmers will be protected. And these farmers can have complete faith in you regarding protection of their interests. And the solution will be completely transparent and participative in nature through consensus. Again, good governance. You give this reassurance so that they will not start the agitation. On the other hand, you will use carrot and stick policy. You will tell them if they still continue with their agitation, you have no option but to take strict action against them by treating it as law and order problem. Because the district cannot afford to have one more problem. Already there is a serious problem with water shortage. And you will tell them that you will come out with a solution in a time-bound manner. You will tell them that give me 1 week time, I will come out with the solution. If she is still not satisfied, then you can continue with your agitation. So the first problem is solved. Then how will you come out with the solution? First and foremost, you will be, first thinking about drinking water, because water is necessary, because it is the most essential aspect of life. So your first priority will be for drinking water purposes. Drinking water purposes. You will not compromise with this, and everyone also will agree. Administration is all about, decision making is all about making choices. The first and foremost is drinking water. Nobody will object to it also. If some water is left, what will you do? You will give some water to the farmers first. Why? How do you justify? Because agriculture is a seasonal activity. They needed water at that particular point of time, compared to the industrial sector. Industrial activity is all through the year, whereas agriculture is a seasonal activity. You will provide water, but at the same time, what will you do? You will come out with strict restrictions regarding excess use of water. You will tell them that if it is found, if any of the farmers are using more water, then they can be arrested also. Again, carrot and stick. And there will be regular inspections. Why? Because it is very scarce. Then rest of the water will be given to industry. And you will meet the industrial heads and tell them that they can compromise with their output for a certain period of time in the short term, maybe 1 or 2 months, because it will not result in unemployment. And on the other hand, you will say that to overcome this problem of unemployment, you will give them more incentives, so that the labor need not be removed also. They will be given more incentives, so that they could control their cost of production also. That is what is called a win-win situation. And that is what you have to write for this case study. Right? So this is how you have to do the things. Ethics paper. Any doubts you can ask. Okay, then let us see, tomorrow we will look at GS paper 3. I will not be discussing science and technology, those kind of questions, environment. I will discuss only economy, because my knowledge of science and technology is as good as your knowledge. Right? I will discuss mostly economy and internal security and disaster management. Right? So tomorrow at the same time, 11 o'clock, we will look at GS paper 3. Okay.